Welcome to Monday. It's the 20th of October, 2025. Your DayWeather podcast brought to you by the Advocates Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, don't face it alone. Get an experienced local Wyoming attorney on your side. Free consultations at WyomingAdvocates.com or call 307-800-1952. You deserve an advocate. Well, raw is the best way to describe the weather for most of you today. Just windy and cold. There's going to be a little bit of snow and rain shower activity as the second cold front is passing its way through the region right now. The first cold front, evidenced by the sign in the photo you see there. Yes, that sign says Chugwater, but caked in snow Saturday morning with that sneaky cold front that came through. Now we're feeling the effects of cold front number 2. But it's moving very, very rapidly, and this will lead to a warming trend beginning tomorrow and lasting through Saturday. We've got one little system to deal with, but really between tomorrow and Saturday, there really won't be a lot going on. The exception will be across portions of Utah, Colorado, and Kansas, and maybe far southern Wyoming, where a few showers might come in later in the week with a small system that's been stuck out off the west coast for a while that's going to move inland. Then the very strong jet stream winds we talked about last week are going to push into North America this weekend into early next week, bringing quite a bit of weather, but a lot of question marks as well. A great shot of Comet Lemon as it's making its closest approach right now. Folks, hopefully were able to go out and see it. It was a pretty easy catch with binoculars if you knew where to look. Also with telescopes, you can get images like that from Jan. Lenticular season is upon us. My mailbox full this morning of lenticular clouds. Why lenticular clouds now? Well, because the winds aloft are getting stronger, as evidenced by the wind here we're feeling. When those winds aloft get stronger and when the winds come in at an angle, especially nearly perpendicular or at an angle to the north-south mountain ranges, you're going to get these lenticular clouds forming along and near and east of the mountains as a wave feature forms downwind of the mountain ranges. And boy, just lots of lenticulars all across the region there from Colorado Springs, and then some really beautiful lenticular clouds here along the east slopes of the Wind Rivers. Look at those, just look like a saucer, and all the way up into Sabile Canyon, Wyoming. And then that really got started late in the week with a little bit of lenticular shape to some clouds over Sweetwater County, Wyoming. The Tetons really starting to pile up the snow. They got more snow yesterday and last night, and we're starting to see the snow, especially in the central and northern Rockies in particular, starting to add up. Beautiful shot there in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Then more astrophotography. Great shot of the moon and Venus this weekend. Here's one from Pinedale. Here's one from Casper. Looks like they were standing almost in the same place. And then here's a little bit more of a easygoing weather photo. Puffy white, beautiful clouds, blue skies, no lenticulars, moving the cows. And a beautiful shot there again of the moon and Venus. Out into the Owl Creek Mountains of Wyoming. Classic fall shot there. Long in the distance, you can see some snow in the mountains. Still a little bit of color from the cottonwoods down low. And a beautiful shot there from the Black Hills of South Dakota. And a beautiful sunset. And we'll have some pretty sunsets this week with some lenticular shape to the clouds because of the strong winds aloft coming through. Here's the second cold front. It came in overnight this morning and early this morning and is going to move rapidly eastward. Here's the system, believe it or not, that's in the northeastern United States. That's what came through Friday night, Saturday morning across the west. So you can see they're lined up. Strong jet stream winds are coming in and bringing these through. But as this system exits, we'll have this high pressure kind of want to nose in for a little bit. But you see this low right here, that's way off the California coast. Well, it's going to have a chance finally to head inland. Now, it's not much of a system, but it is going to create a little bit of weather. In the meantime, the short term, this is what we mean by raw. Very strong winds will be noted all across the region today. Really strong and gusty all day, not winding down until late today, tonight, and into early tomorrow. And even then, it's still going to be a little bit breezy. The front producing precipitation overnight and early this morning in those areas there in the form of rain and some snow. especially up into the mountains. You can see that the snow up here has just been really productive here over the last several weeks. Same for the Bighorn Mountains. And temperatures today, well below average, and just a cold, raw, windy day. But as we get into Wednesday, that low that's been off the coast down here today finally heads up into Southern California. Now, it doesn't have a lot going for it, but it does have some moisture with it. So this little guy right here is going to be the weather maker mid to late week as it tracks like this across Colorado underneath the main jet stream wind that's up into Canada. So this system is a bit detached. And as we go into Thursday and Friday, it moves up southwest to Salt Lake and then just heads east towards Denver, then over towards Goodland. And this is the path of moisture along with it. Nothing to write home about, but we're going to get some showers and thunderstorms out here in the plains. And then there is going to be a little bit of rain and mountain snow along and near the track of that upper level low right here. So while high pressure builds up here over Montana, this system sneaks underneath it and basically just goes right down Interstate 70. So this is basically late Thursday into Friday right here with the track of this system. Now, all of this precipitation up here associated with those strong jet stream winds racing across the North Pacific and slamming into the Pacific Northwest by late Thursday and into Friday. So a little bit of snow with that system mid to late week as well. Snow levels fairly high, but a little more snow for the Central Rockies with that system late in the week. By noon Saturday, that low skedaddles and heads off into the Midwest, and then we can see it. These very strong jet stream winds lined up right here, moving into North America. And as we've been talking about, when you bring this much jet stream energy and you push it into the continent, you're going to get a strong storm system or trough forming somewhere in the lower 48, somewhere in the central or western United States. These jet stream winds are intense. If you look at the 30,000 foot level, we've got jet stream winds right here. Some of these highest speeds, you're in knots. Okay, so you're talking more than 200 miles per hour in sections of this jet stream wind. So what this does is literally this drives Pacific air deep into the U.S., and this is a system that's going to bring heavy snow to the Cascades, heavy rain to the Pacific Northwest coast. The question is, what happens when all of this gets put into this part of the country here? Well, you're going to form some type of strong storm system. You're also going to drive, literally just forcibly drive, cold, moist air into the central and northern Rockies, and you're going to get, let me back up a little bit. When you have this type of jet stream wind, I just mentioned the heavy precipitation in the Pacific Northwest, but you're likely, in this part of the country right here, you're going to have heavy mountain snow, and you're likely going to have a high wind event. Hate to say it, but this is where the mountains get a lot of snow, but the plains get a lot of wind. That is likely in our future, this upcoming weekend into the early parts of next week. All of this jet stream energy may then consolidate a deep storm over the Great Lakes. This is not going to become a four-corner storm here. The winds are moving too quick. It's just going to move too quickly. However, the European model wants to form a deep storm over the Great Lakes region by next Wednesday. The GFS model has got this further south. Both of these solutions, I think, are legitimate. I think the Great Lakes solution may be too far east. This may end up being more reality, and if it does, then we've got a northern plains strong fall storm system potentially early to mid next week, and the flow of air behind it would be quite cold. But when you have this type of pattern, the models are going to have a hard time really getting a grasp on things. We're probably 3 days away from having a good idea of where a big storm is going to form. Will it be here or will it be here? Certainly wind and mountain snow is going to be arriving this weekend into early next week, along with very strong winds on the plains, something we'll need to keep an eye on.